Boy, I tell you what, if it was the season for the Olympics, I started, making a lap around the, what do you want? Over in the front. All right, in the shade. Okay, I'm dealing, son. I've been out before. Look, I'm not going to stand up here and belabor the point because I want to go over here and get my face painted anyhow. But from the bottom of my heart, it is really a privilege and an honor to be able to go up to Washington, D.C. and represent each and every one of you. And even if you don't live in Congressional District 22, it is such an honor to be able to go up there and be a voice for you and to make a stand. Now, let me get some things out front. There's only one place that I need to be. And that place that I need to be is in the United States House of Representatives.
Yes!
It's very humbling, all the talk that is out there. But one thing that we cannot afford to do, and we will not do, we will not become part of the cult of personality style of leadership, which we saw the other side become a part of in 2008. They're so important that I get up there and prove myself as a statesman, as a legislator, and as a political leader. Now, if God be willing, certain things will happen in the future. But for right now, there's a fight going on in your house, in the people's house. And that's where I need to be, because all laws emanate from or come back into the House of Representatives. And if the American people, if you don't have someone that will stand up and fight for you in that house, then Katie barred the door. Nothing else matters. So when you see all these websites and Facebook and the places out there with t-shirts made up and all that kind of good stuff, that's okay. But the fight is right now.
Amen.
Because what you must understand, that what happened in 2010 was not the decisive battle. That was an enabling operation. That was a shaping operation, is what we call it in the military. The decisive fight comes in 2012. And this morning, I had an interview on Fox. And Brian asked me a very simple question. He played that little clip of Harry Reid that said, the Tea Party, they're going to go. Majority Leader Reid, the American people are not going away. If there is something that has changed in the United States, it's the involvement of the American people, unlike any time before. And let me tell you, your voices are being heard in Washington, D.C. Because this past Tuesday, there was a little bit of browbeating going on before that continuing resolution vote. And it was pretty interesting. I've kind of been in a few combat zones or something. It takes a whole heck of a lot to try to scare and intimidate me. But the thing was, there were some of those. There were some of those new freshmen that you sent up to Washington, D.C. that you thought would hold the vanguard. And they didn't.
Who are they?
You can look up the voting record. But the thing is this. On Wednesday, a lot of them came to me. And some of them looked like people had just been walking all over their grave. And there are many of them that are absolutely terrified that they've got to spend 10 days back in their districts. Because your voice is being heard, and it's so important. And I guarantee you that if you continue to talk to them, call them, and tell them this is not what we sent you up there to do, they will be different freshmen when they come back to Washington, D.C. in 10 days. Because we cannot afford to run this country every 2 weeks. When people sit up and say, it's $6 billion worth of cuts. Don't you want $6 billion worth of cuts? Well, let me break it down in Southern math. In the month of February, the shortest month of the year, the federal government spent deficit $223 billion. Largest ever in the history of this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're spending $4 to $5 billion a day. What does $6 billion over the course of 3 weeks really mean? And especially when you figure, why is it a 3-week continuing resolution? Because they sent us away on recess for one of those weeks. I am sick and tired of the political gamesmanship and the political maneuvering, and I'm willing to stand in anyone's face and tell them that you must stand up for the American people, or else you should be pushed aside. Because we need to know who is leading in the United States of America right now. $1.42 trillion, $1.29 trillion, $1.65 trillion. 3 years of deficit spending, $14.3 trillion. That's where the debt is headed. If we don't do something now, 42 cents of every dollar is borrowed. In China, 19 to 20% is what they own of us. 47% of foreign nations own our debt. One of them is Japan. This is, without a doubt, a decisive moment for the future and the legacy of the United States of America. And I don't think anyone sitting here wants to be the one that said, I didn't make a stand. I left less to my sons, to my daughters, to my grandsons, to my granddaughters than what was left for each and every one of us. Because we stand here because of some really great generations that stood in the gap for us. Now, we're going to do less for our future? I don't think so. But let me close by saying this. The world is going to hell. And I don't know any other way to say it. When you look at what's happening in Libya, I don't care what anyone says, you can't win a war from 30,000 feet. I've been on a battlefield before. I don't know why we're shooting $567,000 a piece Tomahawk cruise missiles into Libya. You know, back 2 to 3 weeks ago, we could have taken care of this situation. If we had done the exact same thing that Ronald Reagan did back in the early 80s to Muammar Gaddafi, when he dropped a bomb in his backyard, Muammar Gaddafi didn't say a word for the next 30 years. That's the only way. That's the only way that you want to get Muammar Gaddafi's attention. But let's talk about some other things. In the past 2 to 3 weeks, Iranian warships have gone through the Suez Canal, first time in 40 years. Israel just suffered a massive mortar attack coming out of Gaza Strip. And it is to believe that the Egyptian military new regime that we all thought was going to be so westernized has facilitated that. And always remember, there was an Egyptian military official with Bashar al-Assad at the same time that Hillary Clinton was in Egypt. And I don't care what anyone says. The pictures of what happened to the Fogel family. A mother, a father, 3 children, to include a 3-month-old baby that had his throat slit and stabbed. What type of animal does something like that?
Well said. Subhuman.
But did you hear a word that came from the person who's supposed to be the leader of this country? This is what I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. They don't believe that you're going to show up for the 2012 fight. They're going to put together their machine in Chicago. They're talking about raising billions of dollars. But let me tell you something. I don't care how much money they raise. I'll put my bet on the heart, the soul, and the faith of the American people each and every day. God bless you all for what you did in 2010. But you were scratching the surface. And if you get discouraged by the things that you're seeing out of Washington, D.C., you're playing into the hands of the enemy. Start finding candidates that can go up there and replace the people that are letting you down. Make sure that you hold people's feet accountable, to include mine. I don't care. I love to hear from you. And the thing is, I'm not trying to make everybody happy. If I'm up there trying to make each and every one of you happy 100% of the time, guess what? All I'm doing is trying to suck up to you. And that's not being a leader. Because I remember there were times as a battalion commander, sometimes the troops said, that no good, dirty, low-down SOB, I can't stand it. And if you ever look at that movie, Pat, you heard some of the things that they said about him behind closed doors. But one thing they knew, that was the guy that they wanted if they were going to go into a fight. So all I ask is this thing. Let me be the guy that can be just the same as Theodore Roosevelt said, to be your man in the arena. because I will not leave the arena, no matter how much I am dirty, no matter how much I am bloody. I will leave with victory for each and every one of you. It is too important. I never been for it in the United States of America. God bless you all. God bless you for what you're doing.